Recently, there have been many stories circulating online about passports being cut up by customs officers in China. For example, this user posted online describing how he was studying in Canada on a study visa. When he was leaving the border, the customs officer asked him what he was doing in Canada and asked if there were any offline courses offered by Canadian schools. After he answered that he was currently enrolled in an online program, his passport was cut up. Screenshots of a WeChat post shows that someone leaving Guangzhou had his American green card cut to pieces. People who often travel abroad for private purposes told overseas media that customs officers execute this type of order without a trace. That is, things are done via verbal orders without anything on paper. Therefore, it's difficult for the public to verify the matter via official documents. Incidents like these can only be reported by individuals via word of mouth. On May 10th, a WeChat group of Shanghai airport staff with a handle name Pudong Petrol Team 5 posted a message requesting all T1 aviation buildings to step up their international airline security review. It says that anyone with the so-called hatred of the country and hate of the party sentiment and malicious intent won't be allowed to leave the country. If items such as papers of permanent residence from another country, a large number of foreign currencies, or savings certificates from other countries are found in the luggage, they are all to be destroyed on the spot. Another netizen broke the news that at 9 a.m. on May 8th, a flight from China Southern Airlines landed at Guangzhou Airport, and everyone on board was questioned by border officers. Detailed questions were asked, such as the reason for leaving the country, what they were doing abroad, why they were returning to China, etc. Some people had their passports cut on site as well. This video shows a Chinese man who has arrived in Japan safely, describing his experience at Chinese customs in his hometown of Dalian, a port city. I saw about a dozen people have their passports cut. Later, I struck up a conversation with a woman at the customs office. I chatted with her. I asked if there were any passports cut after I took off. She asked how many you saw. I said I saw 3 passports were cut, but later I came into contact with 16 of them who had their passports cut. She said there were more than 20 people who had their passports cut before I boarded the plane. She is a security officer at the airport and she told me this. I saw it with my own eyes. The customs office won't let you go. They look for excuses to stop you from leaving the country. He asked me what I was doing in Japan. I said I was on a business visa for investment management purposes. He asked how many times I had been to Japan and how I felt about Japan. I said, I don't have any special opinion. It's quite ordinary. Japan is like the intersection of urban and rural areas. He asked what I plan to do in Japan. I said to make money to earn foreign exchange for the motherland. He asked how long I planned to stay in Japan. I said 1 year, depending on the outbreak situation in China. I don't want to bring trouble to the motherland, but if I can return to my own country, I want to do that for my future career. Then the customs officer released me. You have to speak things positively and to their satisfaction. Anyway, if you can get your paperwork done and leave China, hurry up. Now there are risks everywhere in this country. There are complaints everywhere. It's really scary. The man also said that of the 300-strong WeChat group he is a member of, from March 25th till now, only 3 people are able to get out of China. Radio Free Asia reported that a longtime agent of Chinese students studying abroad disclosed that the Chinese government has suspended citizens from leaving China to attend elementary schools. She said the government wants them to attend schools in China. The government has now made it clear, don't leave the country unless necessary. Those who are too young aren't allowed to be sent out of the country by their parents. Previously, children were able to go to Thailand and England for secondary schools, but now there are restrictions. One can only go overseas for university. What does this have to do with the outbreak? Except the Chinese government doesn't want so many Chinese people going out. There are many official signs suggesting that China's doors are indeed closing quietly. Earlier, a government notice was leaked online. Dated on April 24, 2022, the notice requires all notary departments to regulate notarizations related to private overseas investments. If it is found that there are reasonable grounds to suspect that the person, his or her funds or other assets, or his or her transactions are related to foreign exchange evasion, money laundering, fraud, etc., they can be reported to the relevant authorities or to public security. Their cases can be rejected directly. At the same time, starting from May 1st, any foreign-related economic investment notary business has been discontinued. People applying for notarized power of attorney for investment immigration have been officially suspended. A consultant from an immigration agency in Shanghai told Radio Free Asia through an online consultation that although the above document does not say that the processing of foreign-related investment notarization has been discontinued, official customary terms such as more regulated have been adopted, indicating that foreign-related investment notarization is virtually impossible. This is because the first step of investment immigration is asset notarization. It means the application for investment immigration in China has basically been put to a halt. On May 12th, the WeChat of the China Immigration Authorities posted that the Party Unit of Immigration Administration held a meeting on May 10th and requested to implement all measures for the prevention and control of the outbreak from a strict and practical point of view. The entry and exit policy should be enforced as strictly as possible, including the approval and issuance of entry and exit permits for Chinese citizens. It looks like the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, is restricting its citizens from leaving the country in the name of outbreak control. It's ridiculous because based on normal logic, the more people leave China, the better it is for China's outbreak prevention. At least it will relieve the burden of having to conduct nucleic acid and various tests every day. In reality, the Chinese government has been asking citizens to surrender their passports and has suspended issuing them for several years. Except now, there are more cases and the process is becoming more strict. So why does the CCP restrict Chinese people from leaving China? One of the most common arguments is that the living environment in China, both politically and economically, is deteriorating, causing many Chinese to wish to emigrate. In particular, the Shanghai lockdown has shocked the middle class or some of the elite and wealthy in China. Like this lady in Shanghai with long hair, she probably never imagined that one day she would have to search through the garbage for food. We want to eat, we want to live, we want to feed our family. We want to live, we want to eat, we want to survive, we want to feed our family. People who once felt great about living in China are now beginning to feel very unsafe and are planning to flee the country. The online search term immigration has recently skyrocketed. It seems that city lockdowns occurring all over China have driven more Chinese to an unprecedented level of despair towards their government. Surveys show that the first countries of choice for these Chinese are Singapore and Canada. Singapore in particular, as the investment immigration to Singapore only costs about US $1.62 million. However, it is quite possible that this group of people is waking up a little too late. If they leave China, they will take their money and assets with them. The CCP's foreign exchange reserves are now critically low, and the economy is in deep trouble. The Chinese government is trying to control the situation by not letting people leave China. Even if it's only to travel, study, or visit friends and relatives, it still costs a lot of foreign currency. As such, the CCP is reluctant to let Chinese citizens go abroad to preserve the extremely limited foreign currencies. At the same time, most people who have the financial means to go abroad are the elite of the society, and some are extremely talented. The CCP doesn't want to lose such talents. The constitution in China provides for personal freedom, freedom of movement, and the right to enter and leave the country freely. The Chinese government is unable to retain talents as it doesn't possess the ability to retain the hearts and minds of talented people. However, it can cut people's passports at will and keep them from leaving. This is a characteristic of the Red regime. It isn't bound by any constitution or law. Another analysis suggests that the CCP is increasing its control over its citizens and minimizing their opportunities to see the outside world. It wants to reduce the exposure of Chinese citizens to the outside world and the West. When a Chinese citizen goes abroad, he or she will compare China and the West. They might change and accept new things from the West, including Western values and views. The CCP has always regarded the brainwashing and indoctrination of Chinese people as a task as important as controlling the army. In that sense, restricting the number of Chinese going overseas would serve the task better. While the CCP continues to shut its doors, another piece of news in May sparked public attention. That is, a number of well-known Chinese universities have decided to pull out from the World University Rankings. Several media outlets and online portals in China reported on the matter, stating, "After spending tremendous human, financial, material, and intellectual resources, we still cannot get a proper, fair, and impartial appraisal." It's tiring to see the various rankings of world universities and domestic universities. It is indeed wise for the three high-level universities, including Zhenmin University, Nanjing University, and Lanzhou University, to decisively decline cooperation with the world university ranking agencies and stop providing relevant data. The story is the Zhenmin University of China has announced that it is withdrawing from the World University Rankings as of 2022 and will no longer provide relevant data to the ranking agency. This is also followed by Nanjing University and Lanzhou University in China. These three schools belong to the so-called Project 985, which is meant to promote the development and reputation of the Chinese higher education system. They are all on the list of the 39 best universities in China. On the surface, it's Zhenmin University that is dissatisfied with the low ranking and believes that the ranking doesn't truly reflect its strength and it doesn't want to be kidnapped by foreign indicators anymore. Yet, it can be read as a major sign from the CCP that is trying to bring back China's educational and cultural sovereignty as a way to achieve the CCP's so-called Great Rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Previously, at the end of April, Communist Party leader Xi Jinping had just visited Zhenmin University. According to the Chinese state news agency Xinhua, Xi emphasized the need to inherit the red gene as a way to build a new road to a world-class university with Chinese characteristics. He also said that we cannot follow the example of others and simply take foreign universities as the standard and model. Immediately after, Zhenmin University announced its withdrawal from the World University Rankings.
President Xi has encouraged us to study hard and train scientifically so that we can become eagles in the blue sky at an early date in contributing to the cause of making the Chinese armed forces strong and prosperous. As Air Force flight cadets, we must work hard to refine our combat and flying skills and shoulder the glorious mission of safeguarding the blue sky of the motherland.
Few students can grow up to be pilots after all. At present, more students are being directed to take up manual labor. Recently, China's Ministry of Education released the Life Skills Curriculum Standards for Compulsory Education 2022 edition. Starting from the beginning of this fall, setting labor courses will officially become an independent subject in primary and secondary schools. The curriculum is divided into three major categories: daily life chores, production work, and service-based labor. More specifically, it involves doing household chores such as cooking, industrial training, agricultural production work, and public service work, among others. On May 10th, the central-level media under the All China Federation of Trade Unions published an article that enthusiastically praised university students for taking lessons from migrant workers at construction sites. This reminds Chinese people of a time when their parents or grandparents once lived. During those years, President Xi and his siblings, including himself, were sent as teenagers to work and learn from the villagers in extremely poor rural villages. His eldest sister couldn't bear the hardship and committed suicide. According to the news report, she recalled, "I was digging a bomb shelter when I got the news. I cried." On October 7, 1975, he was accepted into Tsinghua University and was able to leave the village of Liangjiahe in Yan'an, and he wept again. Generations of people have fallen victim to the communist system, but many Chinese, both at the top and the bottom, seem unable to recognize it for what it is. By 2022, a rather strong communist ideology has begun to reassert itself in China. Against this backdrop, it isn't surprising that China would close its doors and return to the days of seclusion. During the outbreak, the Public Security and Neighborhood Committee of a city came to the door and told the residents that the entire building had to be evacuated, but this household refused to be evacuated. We tell you, you listen carefully. When the time comes, you will be punished by public security. You are not qualified to force us to leave. I am sorry. There is no qualification. You will see for yourself when the time comes. It's in accordance with the law. I tell you that you have now been notified. Be prepared. If you don't obey the city's orders, you will be punished, and after the punishment, it will affect you for 3 generations. We are the last generation. Thank you.